Next, in your notes, we have to talk about not only the biblical celebration, but point 2 you can write in is the pagan connection. Now, this is what you've all heard about, studied, read about. In fact, I just saw in the paper this week, some of you might have noticed the background of Christmas and all this stuff was in there. And it was interesting reading it because there's so many different stories that it's hard to sort them out. But let me just share with you what one authority says about the pagan connection. Letter A there, Dr. Philip Schaff, he's a noted church historian of the last century. He wrote a monumental 8-volume history of the Christian church, and volume 3 at the bottom, page 340 or 394 onwards, where I'm quoting from. He wrote one of the most profound conservative, it's about this long on the shelf, about 2 feet long, history of the Christian church. In this work, he relates that history records that the ancients celebrated an annual victory of the sun over the long winter night. This religious festival was held near the winter solstice around tomorrow or the next day of every year. Because every year, between the 21st and the 22nd, it's the longest night and the shortest day. And it's in ancient times, it was called Sol Invictus because it's the sun won out over the dark. And every day from then on gets longer until you get to the equinox, which is in June. 22nd, 23rd, some you school teachers know better than I do. But June something is when the days start shortening down again. It's just part of the tilt of the earth and the revolution around the sun and our Earth's rotation. But as I mentioned on Sunday, this is the time, if this is the sun, the darkest night is when the earth is closest to the sun. And so that's an interesting thing that there has always been in all the pagan religions, as long as history is recorded in any of the pagan religions, there has always been a celebration and a festival at the time of the solstice, as they celebrated the sun, because most ancient cultures worship the sun. The Egyptians worship the sun, the Greeks worship the sun, everybody worshiped the sun because it's so vital for life. Letter B, by Roman times there was number 1, a silent testimony of nature. People looking in nature could see that the seasons show winter is death and spring is life with resurrection, right? Especially if you live in a snow country. I mean, it is bleak and barren and desolate and snow, and all of a sudden it'll warm up and you'll see those green bulbs, shoots from those bulbs coming up. And a lot of times the crocus would come up through the snow. I mean, it was just amazing just to see that resurrection and birth of life. But that was a silent testimony. But look at their public celebration of paganism. Letter small a, it related to Sol Invictus legend of the conquest of darkness by the sun. This tradition was embodied in the Saturnalia festival. Now, that was in the paper that I just read this week, our Tulsa World. It talked about Saturnalia. This festival, listen to this, was a feast of images. They made images of the sun. It involved giving of gifts. Isn't that interesting? That they would give each other gifts, and they would set free slaves. It was a big time of the year, the Saturnalia festival. They would let loose slaves and give each other presents, and then they'd worship their images. Well, on the next page here, according to astronomers, the night of 12/21/22, the earth is at its darkest. The night is the longest. The light of day is shortest. The sun is closest to the earth in any time of the year. Letter D, and this is why the pagan connection is so interesting, because there is, within nearly every culture of the world, little seeds of the gospel. Missiologists have found that the flood legend is in almost every civilization on this planet. Somewhere in their literature, it talks about the flood coming and hitting the planet and killing the people. There is, for instance, in the Chinese language, they have a sign. The sign for ransom is a cross, and it has 3 little sticks on it. Now, isn't that interesting? Christ and the 2 thieves on a cross is their Chinese picture for ransom. You see, in background of all the earth's cultures are little seeds. Look at this. What an amazing picture of Christ coming to us. As John 1 says, he came to his own, and his own received him not. And his own is neuter. The first one, he came to his own planet, but his own, and then it's masculine, his own people received him not. He came to a sin-darkened world. He came as a sunrise from on high, and he offered the free gift of salvation and liberation from the servitude to the servants of darkness. Do you understand? The pagan connection. They had all the right pieces, but they just hadn't made the connection.